Breaking news today. In the face of EU indifference, Russia is ready to capitalize on the recent coup in Sudan. As warlords in Sudan seek out foreign sponsors, experts predict that Russia will eventually build a strategic naval base in the country. Russia, already have a base in Syria very close by, and I don't doubt they'll build this one very soon. Joanna de Deus Pereira, a Russia specialist at the British defence think tank the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, told EU Observer. On Wednesday, the 19th of April, she spoke as violence in Khartoum, which has claimed hundreds of lives in recent days, continued. The attempted coup by paramilitary warlord General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo and Sudanese junta chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan led to the outbreak of violence. In a rare show of unity, the European Union, the United States, and even Russia have all called for an end to hostilities, reasoning that peace is in everyone's best interests. Western and Russian goals for Sudan, however, couldn't be more diametrically opposed. In February, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, was in Khartoum to finalize a 25-year lease for a Russian base in Port Sudan on the Red Sea, the jugular of Western trade and oil flows, in exchange for Russian arms sales. Wagner, a Russian mercenary group, first flew 100 military trainers into Sudan in 2018. The agreement dates back years. According to de Deus Pereira, they were followed by about 50 Russian geologists who were interested in a side deal to map the mineral wealth of Sudan. She claims that Wagner now provides a heavy source of funds for Russia's war effort in Ukraine by mining and smuggling Sudanese gold through two firms, Meroe Gold and M Invest, which have been blacklisted by the EU and the US. Wagner's contraband is allegedly transported by the Sudanese military intelligence on unreported military flights, she claimed. The Rapid Support Forces, RSF, Hamdan Dagalo's paramilitary army, patrols the ground to protect Meroe Gold's mines. The RUSI analyst said that regardless of who wins, Russia will keep doing business with whoever is in power, whether it be the RSF or the junta. While de Deus Pereira claims that Wagner fighters are there on the ground, in Khartoum, and are waiting for the next development before choosing sides, there is no evidence that they have joined the current conflict. Vote for both. Russia's modus operandi in Africa has always been to back both sides in a civil conflict, so that they always end up on the right side, Paul Stronsky, a Russia scholar at the US's Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, said. Conversely, European Union diplomacy favors the more democratic party. Also, the Economic Community of West African States and other regional organizations would need to give their stamp of approval for any European military intervention in Sudan, as it would be a post-conflict humanitarian or peacekeeping mission. The EU is making an effort to mediate and maintain peace. According to Theodore Murphy, an expert on Africa at the UK's European Council on Foreign Relations, ECFR, the Russians come in with a proposal to back one party in any given conflict, usually autocratic ones that are isolated from the West by their own behavior. The only people who have ever said a soft no to Russia's naval base plan in Sudan, Murphy pointed out, were the leaders of the country's pro-democratic civilian movement, but the recent uptick in violence has rendered them largely irrelevant. In addition, whichever general now wins, they'll be seeking support from international partners going forward, as Murphy put it. Trump's Africa. Meanwhile, for Russian President Vladimir Putin, consolidating power in Sudan is more important than gaining access to the Red Sea or smuggling gold out of Russia. The Russian media could use some good news in the midst of depressing losses in Ukraine, and establishing a Russian-flagged base at the symbolic source of the Nile and gateway to Africa would provide just that. Russia could use this to present itself as a modern power on a continent still recovering from colonization. Moscow benefits from the growing pro-Russian axis in Africa because of the resulting support for Russian interests at the United Nations.